A hairdresser is a professional who takes care of people's hair. They cut, color, wash, and style hair for both men and women. Hairdressers usually work in beauty salons, barbershops, or sometimes they visit clients at home. Their job is not only about cutting hair, it's also about helping people feel good and confident about how they look. Hairdressers use different tools like scissors, clippers, razors, combs, brushes, hair dryers, and straighteners. Before they start, they often talk to the customer about what style or color they want. They listen carefully and give advice on what haircut or hairstyle would look best. Many hairdressers are creative and enjoy trying new styles and trends. In addition to cutting and styling, some hairdressers also offer services like hair treatments, deep conditioning, and even scalp massages. They need to keep their tools clean and work in a tidy environment. Hygiene is very important in their job. Hairdressers must be friendly, patient, and good at talking with people. They often build close relationships with their regular clients. Some clients come every month and they trust the hairdresser to make them look their best. It is a job that requires skill, practice, and a passion for beauty and customer service. The life and work of a waiter. Working as a waiter is not always easy, but it can be a very rewarding job. A waiter is responsible for making sure that customers have a pleasant dining experience. They do much more than just bring food to the table. They greet guests, explain the menu, take orders, serve drinks and meals, and sometimes even prepare small dishes or desserts. One example is Maria, who has been working as a waiter at a family-owned Italian restaurant for over 5 years. She usually begins her shift at 10:30 a.m. Before the restaurant opens, she helps clean the dining area, sets the tables with cutlery and napkins, and makes sure everything is ready for customers. She also checks the daily specials and learns about any changes in the menu so she can explain them clearly to the guests. Once the restaurant opens, Maria greets customers warmly and helps them find a comfortable place to sit. She gives them menus and offers to bring water or recommend a drink. Then she answers any questions about the food, such as whether it is spicy, vegetarian, or gluten-free. After taking the orders, she enters them into the computer system so the kitchen can start preparing the dishes. When the food is ready, Maria brings it to the table and checks if the customers need anything else. She watches carefully in case someone raises their hand or looks around for help. A good waiter is always alert and ready to respond quickly. Maria also cleans the tables after each group leaves and prepares them for new customers. The busiest times are usually during lunch and dinner, especially on weekends or holidays. During these times, Maria has to move quickly and stay calm under pressure. Sometimes people complain or ask for something that is not on the menu. She has to be patient and polite, even if the situation is difficult. Motivation: how to learn English successfully. Learning English can be a big challenge, but with the right motivation, it can also be a fun and rewarding journey. Many people around the world study English because it helps them get better jobs, travel more easily, meet new people, or understand music and movies. Whatever your reason is, the most important thing is to stay motivated and never give up. Motivation is the key to success in language learning. When you feel motivated, you are more likely to study every day, practice your speaking, and improve your vocabulary. But sometimes, motivation goes down. You get tired, frustrated, or feel like you're not making progress. That's normal. Everyone feels that way at some point. So how can you stay motivated to learn English? One important tip is to set small, realistic goals. For example, instead of saying, "I want to speak English perfectly," try saying, "I want to learn 10 new words this week," or "I want to watch a short English video without subtitles." These goals are easier to reach, and when you achieve them, you feel proud and excited to keep going. Another great way to stay motivated is to make English part of your everyday life. You don't need to study for hours. Even 15 minutes a day can help if you do it regularly. Listen to English songs, read short articles, follow English accounts on social media, or talk to friends who also want to practice. The more you use the language, the faster you will learn. A day in the life of an English teacher. Mrs. Thompson is an English teacher at a secondary school in a small town. She has been teaching for more than 15 years and loves helping her students improve their language skills. Every day is different for her, but each one starts early. She wakes up at 6 a.m., prepares breakfast for her family, and then drives to school. Her first class usually begins at 8 a.m. Before the students arrive, Mrs. Thompson checks her lesson plans, organizes materials, and writes the objectives for the day on the board. She teaches grammar, reading, writing, and speaking. Her goal is not only to teach English, but also to make her classes interesting and fun. Mrs. Thompson knows that students learn in different ways. Some are visual learners, others prefer listening, and some learn best by doing activities. So she uses many teaching methods like group projects, games, songs, videos, and storytelling. She believes that learning a language should be an active and enjoyable experience. During the lessons, she encourages her students to speak as much as possible. Even if they make mistakes, she gently corrects them and motivates them to keep trying. She always says, "Mistakes are part of learning." After her morning classes, she has lunch in the teacher's lounge, where she talks with her co-workers about students and lesson ideas. In the afternoon, she usually teaches more advanced classes or helps students who need extra support. Some of them are preparing for exams or job interviews, so she gives them special exercises to build confidence and improve their skills. Mrs. Thompson's work doesn't end when the school day is over. At home, she often spends her evenings grading homework, preparing new lessons, and looking for interesting materials online. Sometimes she attends workshops or online courses to become a better teacher. She is always learning too. What she loves most about her job is seeing her students grow. When a shy student starts speaking more fluently, or when someone gets a good grade after working hard, it makes her feel proud. For her, teaching English is not just a job, it's a passion. At the airport, English reading text. Traveling through an airport can be exciting, but it also requires understanding many signs, instructions, and conversations, especially in English. Arriving at the airport. When you arrive at the airport, the first thing you do is go to the check-in counter. This is where you show your passport and boarding pass and drop off your luggage. Example dialogue. Staff, good morning. May I have your passport, please? You, sure, here it is. Staff, are you checking in any bags today? You, yes, one suitcase. After checking in, you go through security. At security, you place your bags on a conveyor belt and walk through a metal detector. Vocabulary. Passport control. Immigration. If you're flying internationally, you'll go through immigration. The officer will ask questions about your trip. Officer, what is the purpose of your visit? You, I'm visiting family. Officer, how long will you stay? You, 2 weeks. Waiting at the gate. Once you're through security and immigration, you go to your gate to wait for your flight. You might hear announcements like, Flight 345 to Toronto is now boarding at Gate 12. You must listen carefully and check the departure screens often to be sure your gate or flight time hasn't changed. On the plane. When it's time to board, an agent scans your ticket, and you enter the airplane. On board, you may hear the flight attendants say, "Please fasten your seatbelt and turn off all electronic devices." Arrival. After landing, you go to baggage claim to get your suitcase. If you're entering a new country, you may go through customs. Customs officer. Are you bringing any food, alcohol, or large amounts of money? Big vacation story. The journey of a lifetime. Last summer, I went on the most unforgettable vacation of my life. It all started with a spontaneous idea. After months of working long hours at my office job, I felt completely drained. One evening, as I sat on my balcony watching the sunset, I decided it was time to take a real break. That very night, I booked a 3-week trip to Europe. My first stop was Paris, France. I had always dreamed of seeing the Eiffel Tower, and when I finally stood beneath it, I was overwhelmed with emotion. I spent days walking through cobblestone streets, visiting museums like the Louvre, and enjoying fresh croissants at outdoor cafes. I even took a boat ride on the Seine River at night when the city lights sparkled like magic. Next, I traveled by train to Rome, Italy. The history there was astonishing. I stood in the Colosseum where gladiators once fought, and I wandered through the ruins of the Roman Forum, imagining life 2,000 years ago. I also visited Vatican City and saw Michelangelo's incredible ceiling in the Sistine Chapel. The food in Rome was another highlight. Every meal was a celebration of flavor, especially the handmade pasta and creamy gelato. After Rome, I flew to Barcelona, Spain, where the art and energy were completely different. The architecture by Antoni Gaudí gave the city a dreamlike feeling. I visited the Sagrada Familia and Park Güell, then spent afternoons relaxing at the beach. The rhythm of life in Barcelona was slower and more relaxed. I learned to enjoy each moment, especially during long dinners with new friends I met at the hostel. My final destination was Reykjavik, Iceland. It was a total contrast to the other cities. I went hiking on volcanic trails, saw geysers shooting water high into the air, and even bathed in the Blue Lagoon, a natural hot spring. One night I stayed up late and was lucky enough to see the northern lights. They danced across the sky in green and purple waves. It felt like a dream. My journey learning English. When I was a child, I never imagined that learning English would become such an important part of my life. I grew up in a small town where no one really spoke English. Most people worked in local businesses or farms, and there weren't many opportunities to travel or meet foreigners. But everything changed when I turned 12. One day, a group of volunteers from the United States visited our school. They were friendly and full of energy, and although we couldn't understand them, we were fascinated by their language. I remember one of them wrote a sentence on the board, "The world is bigger than your town." That sentence stayed in my mind for years. It made me curious. What else was out there? So I started learning English on my own. At first it was hard. I didn't have internet at home, and my only resources were an old dictionary and a second-hand English textbook. I practiced basic words every day, colors, numbers, simple greetings. I listened to English songs on the radio and tried to copy the lyrics. I didn't always understand, but I never gave up. When I entered high school, I finally had access to real English classes. My teacher was strict but passionate. She taught us grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. But most of all, she taught us confidence. She used to say, "Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes mean you're trying." I started speaking in class even when I felt shy or nervous. Later, I discovered the internet. It opened a new world for me. I watched English videos, joined language forums, downloaded audiobooks, and even found online friends from different countries. Every conversation helped me grow. I kept a journal in English and wrote stories, poems, and letters. I translated news articles for practice and repeated movie dialogues to improve my accent. After years of dedication, something amazing happened. I got a scholarship to study abroad in Canada. It was a dream come true. At first, it was difficult to adapt. People spoke fast and I didn't understand everything. But I kept practicing. I asked questions, took notes, and read every day. Slowly, I improved. I made friends, gave presentations, and even helped other students who were learning English. Looking back, I realized that learning English was not just about words or grammar. It was about building a bridge to the world. It gave me confidence, opened doors, and changed the way I think. Today, I use English in my career, travel with ease, and connect with people from every corner of the globe. My journey is not over. Learning a language is a lifelong process. But every step I took, every challenge I faced made me stronger. English didn't just change my future, it changed me. The boy who never gave up. There was once a young boy named Alex who lived in a poor neighborhood on the edge of a big city. His family struggled every day to make ends meet, and Alex often went to school with an empty stomach. Many of his classmates didn't believe he would ever succeed. Some even laughed at him because he wore the same clothes every week. But Alex had a dream. He wanted to become a scientist and discover something that could change the world. Every day after school, while other kids played outside, Alex went to the small library near his house. He read everything he could find, science books, biographies, and encyclopedias. He didn't have a computer, so he wrote notes by hand and asked the librarian questions. She noticed his determination and began saving special books just for him. But life wasn't easy. His father lost his job and Alex had to help the family by working after school. He cleaned tables at a local cafe, carried groceries, and did whatever he could to earn a little money. Despite this, he never missed a day of studying. Some nights he fell asleep on his books, exhausted but determined. When high school came, Alex applied for a scholarship to a prestigious science program. The competition was fierce, and many students came from wealthy families with private tutors. But Alex didn't give up. He studied harder than ever, and when the results came, he had not only been accepted, he had earned one of the highest scores in the country. In the new school, Alex faced new challenges. He felt out of place and sometimes he doubted himself, but he remembered where he came from and why he started. He made friends, worked hard, and continued to push forward. A few years later, he was invited to speak at an international science fair, where he presented a project about clean energy. His ideas impressed scientists from around the world. Eventually, Alex received a full scholarship to a top university, became a scientist, and worked on solutions for communities without electricity. He returned to his hometown and helped build a center for education and technology so that other children could have the opportunities he never had. Today, Alex is known not just for his work, but for his story. He is invited to speak at schools, telling young people, "Your background does not define your future. What matters is your effort, your heart, and your belief that you can achieve something greater."